Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. This article was submitted by Patreon backer Tim Stack. Tim, thank you so much for supporting the show. You've been with us from day one, dude. Really appreciate it. It was an article in the Denver Post that came out a couple weeks ago. The curious case of Nicole Mincy, the Trump fan who may actually be a Russian bot. This was written by Abby Phillips. It was picked up by the Denver Post. It was originally in the Washington Post. Basically, what happened back on, I think, August 6th or 7th, Trump tweeted his gratitude to social media superfan Nicole Mincy, magnifying his praise of him to his 35 million followers. Here's the problem. There's no evidence that this Twitter handle or feed belongs to anyone named Nicole Mincy. And there's a lot of people saying that this account is actually a Russian bot. Here's a quote from Clint Watt, a former FBI agent and fellow at the Foreign Policy Research Institute. The president doesn't know whether it's a Russian bot or not, right? He's just pushing a narrative, whether it's true or false. This provides a window, not just for Russia, but for any adversary to both influence the president or discredit him. As a candidate, Trump became known for his amplifying tweets from accounts of dubious origin, including the user went by the name of White Genocide TM and disseminating anti-Semitic memes that bubbled up from some of the darkest corners of the internet. Why this is interesting is, first, it shows there's a lot of recently about, is Trump suffering from mental illness? And you're seeing in, there's this article here that was in USA Today, Russian Twitter boosts Trump. And it's basically talking about propaganda project that's aimed at Americans and often has links to Breitbart. So that has came out here, and there's been accusations of Trump's mental illness. Now he just, pardoned that awful sheriff from Arizona. And now I don't want this to be like, oh, Trump is a Russia. It just shows you that how incompetent he is. And I seriously think he is suffering from mental illness. I'm not saying that to be like flippant or like, aha, he's nuts. I mean, like he's suffering from, he's showing signs, and like, psychiatrists are looking at his behavior and they're commenting on it. And when he does stuff like this, it's so peculiar to me. And it goes to, he keeps firing people, like, Bannon's fired. I mean, no one on his staff is going to make it a year. I don't even think he will. And this is so, it also, it shows so many things. It's hard to even break it down. It shows so many things, which is that this is what happens, and I say this time and time again, when we don't have, the liberal institutions are no longer in place. A guy like this should have never even gotten close to the White House if we had actual liberal institutions and we had actual politicians and policy, rather than this is just a corporate kleptocracy and oligarchy, whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's all of the above. And so you get this sort of insanity. And then we're in this Twitter world, we're in this social media world where he's saying these crazy things on Twitter, and then he's championing someone that's a Russian bot. And here's the thing. What is his staff doing? Here's what the article goes into. Aides and advisors have hinted that Trump has been urged to tone down his tweeting habits, but the president has shut down those conversations quickly. According to two people who have witnessed such exchanges, he can also on occasion follow bouts of public discourse about his Twitter feed with rapid-fire tweet storm, perhaps an implicit signal that he has no intention of ceding control of his account to his aides that he is in the White House. Trump's tweet storms of the last several days. Well, there's always a tweet storm this is from 3 weeks ago, but we've had a whole new tweet storm. For instance, have followed intense speculation of his new chief of staff, John Kelly, might try to exert greater control of the president's account. The message, that's probably not going to happen. This is like narcissism, And I don't just mean like, oh, you're such a narcissist. I mean like clinically diagnosed narcissism. And also, it's called, I believe, oppositional disorder, where you just argue the opposite of everything. And I've heard this talked about with people that are addicts and whatever else. His crazy rage. I always thought during the debates he looked like a guy that was on blow. And again, I'm not saying that to be a wise-ass comedian. He looks like someone that's on blow, and he came up in the 80s. He was, he was doing blow in New York in the 80s. And then here's some more evidence. So I think it could be drugs or when somebody's behavior is just up and down and all over the place, then you have to ask that question. During his 6-month tenure, Trump's former chief of staff, Reince Priebus, another guy fired, was unable to do much to rein in Trump's social media rants. Lawyers have tried and failed to impress upon the president the risks of discussing the ongoing investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election and possible collusion of his cabinet associates. Kelly faces much the same challenge. According to people who have spoken with him, he does not believe that he will be able to change Trump's social media behavior and believes that being seen as attempted, well, the mooch, I thought the mooch was going to get it switched up. No, mooch couldn't rein in the Donnie Coke Nose. On Monday morning, marking Kelly's second week on the job, Trump blasted out 9 tweets, including several renewing attacks on Senator Richard Bloomfield, a Democrat from Connecticut, the fake news media, phony fake news polling, and the fake news Russian collusion story. And I don't know what they're waiting on in terms of to fire him or to start impeachment. Like, I don't know what are they waiting on? Because he clearly is out of control. And if he thinks do you think he's incapable of, I know there's not just a red button on his desk and he presses it, no, nukes, we're all dead. Like, I know there's a bunch of, there's measures in place so that if a president starts going crazy, there's a bunch of checks and balances to prevent this from happening. But you have to ask this question: is what is going on and who is doing it? It's like, here's the last paragraphs of the article. The Trump administration has appeared resistant to addressing the growing problem of the Russia online propaganda, which lawmakers and national security experts warn is a continuation of the tactics seen during the 2016 campaign. And of course, I'm sure the DNC is still pushing Russia, 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 Russia. Congress has appropriated $80 million to combat Islamic State propaganda and Russian disinformation online, but the State Department has not yet used the money. That's good. Prompting bipartisan condemnation from Senator Bob Portman, from a Republican from Ohio, Senator Chris Murphy, a Democrat from Connecticut, the lawmakers who wrote the legislation establishing the fund. The challenge of Russia disinformation is not about Donald Trump. It's much broader than that, said Portman in a speech to the Atlantic Council late last month. It was a serious problem before him, and it's going to continue to be a problem long after his term in office. Well, if we had Bernie in office, this wouldn't be happening. So thank the DNC for this nonsense, that we have this lunatic in here. Thank the broken political system. Thank the corporate state. And thank a fair amount of American apathy, the people that don't pay attention. You guys are paying attention. You're watching these videos. You're coming to YouTube to get more information because you know the corporate media is feeding you lies. So thanks for watching the show. Thank you, Tim Stack, for supporting the show on Patreon. Anyone, the Patreon link is below. You can support the show for as little as $1 a month. You go up to $25 a month, I'll do an interview with you like I did with God's Favorite Atheist. And I'll put that interview online. Thanks for watching.